Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Theruvan Saranai. Good evening, Venerable Mahasangha, Sires, and brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today we will be talking further on the triplets. We are talking about Maggārammaṇa Tika, object of the path triplet. Now this triplet is not a difficult triplet, but you need to pay a little extra attention in order to understand the differences in the terms. First, we will look at the three terms of Maggārammaṇa Tika, object of the path triplet. Maggārammaṇā dhammā, states having the path as their object. Maggahetukā dhammā, states having the path as their root cause. Maggadhipatino dhammā, states having the path as their predominant factor. We'll first look at the first term, Maggārammaṇā dhammā, states having the path as their object. So here the word Maggārammaṇā is formed by combining two words, the word Magga and the word Ārammana. So putting them together, we have got Maggārammaṇā. Now, what does Magga mean? Magga refers to the path. And what it means is that which leads to Nibbāna. Or in other words, that which leads to Nibbāna while destroying the corruptions. So Maggārammaṇā means states that have the path as their object. Now the word Ārammana means object. But when you say Ārammana, it means states having an object. So what is the object here? It is the Magga or the path. Now let's look at the summary section, the Nikkepakanda description. Katame Dhamma Maggārammaṇā. Which are the states having the path as their object? Ariya Maggaṃ ārabba ye uppajjanti chitta cetasika dhammā. Consciousness and their mental factors which arise in connection with the noble path. Ime dhammā Maggārammaṇā. These are the states having the path as their object. Now, in the previous tika, when we were talking about Parittarammana Dhamma, we came across this word Ārabba. So similarly, here also we get this word Ārabba. Ārabba refers to the phrase in connection with. So when we say Ariya Maggaṃ ārabba, it means making the transcendental path or the noble path the mental object. And the states that can take this noble path as its object can be either paritta, limited, or mahagata, sublime. So if you remember, you may recall, we learned the paritta tika. We learned about paritta dhamma, mahagata dhamma. Paritta dhamma refers to the kamavachara dhammas, those that belong to the sense sphere plane. And the mahagata dhamma are the dhammas that belong to the rupavachara, the fine material sphere, and the arupavachara, the immaterial sphere planes. So here, when we are talking about the Maggārammaṇā Dhamma, the Kamavachara and the Rupavachara Dhamma are the ones that can take the Noble Eightfold Path, the Noble Path as its mental object. And we will talk about it further in the next slides. So here we have the Magga Chitta as the Ārammana, the sense object, and Maggārammaṇā Dhamma refers to all the Chitta Cetasika Dhamma that are able to take this Magga Chitta as its object. Now to understand a little bit more about the instances where the dhammas take this Magga Chitta as its object, we need to look back and remind ourselves of this Paccavekkhana. So Paccavekkhana is a process of reviewing or recollecting. So after each of the 4 supramundane paths have been attained, the disciple always reviews or recollects certain things. So the path, the Magga, the Phala, fruits, and Nibbana, these are always reviewed by the disciple. And in addition, they may also review the defilements that has been eliminated as well as the remaining defilements. Now you must remember, when it comes to an Arahant, however, they recall only 4 out of these 5 things. They review the path, the Magga, the Phala, fruition, Nibbana, and the defilements that have been eliminated. Because an Arahant is a fully liberated person. He doesn't have any more defilements left to be reviewed. So therefore, an Arahant will be reviewing only 4 things. So now the reason why we are talking about this Paccavekkhana is this Maggārammaṇa Dhamma is one instance where an individual focuses on the Magga, and an example of that is this Paccavekkhana, or this process of recollection. So utilizing the Jnana Sampayutta Mahakusala or the Jnana Sampayutta Mahakriya in the case of an Arahant, they will recollect or review the Magga that they have attained, and that is called Paccavekkhana. Now this table gives the analytical states that we get under the Maggārammaṇa Dhamma. In addition to the analytical states, in the second column we have given the Ārammana, and in the third column we have given the type of individual who is able to develop that or obtain that particular type of Chitta Cetasika. So first, we will take the stream winner. The stream winner, or the Sotapatti individual, can focus or recollect or review the Sotapatti Magga, the path consciousness of the stream enterer. And during this process of recollection, it is an ordinary Chitta Vidi, isn't it? So first, the Chitta Vidi will start with the Bhavanga Chalana, Bhavanga Upacheda, and then we'll get the Manodvara Vajjana as the first Chitta that takes the Sotapatti Magga as its sense object. So the Manodvara Vajjana will take Sotapatti Magga as its object, and the next Chitta that will occur will be a Javana Chitta. Now this Javana Chitta can be one of the 4 Jnana Sampayutta Mahakusala. So that means one of the 4 sense sphere wholesome consciousness that is associated with knowledge. And according to the Javana law, the Javana Niyama, one of these Jnana Sampayutta Kusala Chitta will occur, and they will occur 7 times. So in the Javana Niyama, we get the occurrence of the Javana 7 times. So this is one instance where we get the Magga as an Ārammana. The next instance we have given here for the stream winner is the Kusala Abhiññā. Now, the Kusala Abhiññā is a bit different, because here the sense object again is a Sotapatti Magga, but not of his own. It will be of another individual. So in order to attain or in order to get this Kusala Abhiññā, one needs to master the Atta Samapatti. So they need to be very well versed in the Rupavachara jhana and the arupavachara jhana to such an extent that they will be able to switch back and forth between jhanas. So say, for instance, a person is sits down to meditate and he is able to switch between the first jhana and the fourth jhana, then jump back to the second jhana. He can jump back and forth between jhanas very rapidly. So that's how well versed they are with the jhana. So such individuals can develop these special, these higher knowledges called abhiññā. So kusala abhiññā here is referred to that. And out of that again, it has to be something, it has to be an abhiññā which is called cetopariññāna, where an individual is able to see the thoughts of another individual. So this stream winner can, who has developed abhiññā, is able to see the sotapatti magga of another individual through this kusala abhiññā chitta. But you need to remember, a stream winner is the lowest supramundane level. So they are not able to see a sakadagami magga or an anagami magga or an arahatta magga. They can see only what is at their level and what is below. That is why we have taken the sense object here only as sotapatti magga. Next we go to the once returner, the sakadagami individual. Now here it's slightly different because the sakadagami individual is able to focus on both the sotapatti magga as well as the sakadagami magga chitta. So he can take as his sense object the sotapatti magga as well as the sakadagami magga. It can be his own when he is recollecting or when he is reviewing his magga. Or it can be that of another individual through kusala abhiññā. Now, because he has already attained sakadagami magga, he is able to identify both sotapatti and sakadagami magga of another individual. Then next we come to the non-returner, the anagami individual. So as we mentioned before, once you attain a certain level, you can focus on that particular level, anagami magga, and then the levels below, sotapatti and sakadagami. So the non-returner can take all three, sotapatti, sakadagami, and anagami magga as their sense object. And when they are going through the review process, it will start with the manodvara vajjana chitta, and one of the four jnana sampayutta maha kusala chitta will become the javana. And in the case of kusala abhiññā, the abhiññā can focus on another individual's sotapatti, sakadagami, or anagami magga. And finally we come to the arahant. Now here it is different because the type of chitta are not kusala. They generate only kriya because they have eliminated all defilements. They don't produce any kusala or akusala. Instead, their javana chitta are kriya chitta. So now because they have attained the highest level, highest supramundane level, they are able to take as their arammana all four magga, the sotapatti, sakadagami, anagami, and the arahatta magga. And if it's their own magga that they are reviewing, then it will be through one of the four jnana sampayutta maha kriya chitta that it will take place. And if it's that of another individual, it will be through the kriya abhiññā chitta. So the maximum number of cetasika that we can get together with this chitta would be 33, and that is without taking the 3 virati and the 2 appamanya. So excluding the 3 virati and the 2 appamanya, we are left with 33 chetasika. Now we will look at the Nikkepakandam section of the second term, Maggahetukā Dhamma, states having the path as their root cause. Katame Dhamma Maggahetukā. Which are the states having the path as their root cause? Now here we have 3 definitions. We will first just read through them, and next we will describe each of these paragraphs individually. Ariya Magga Samangissa Maggārammaṇā Tika. The path factors as experienced by one who is conversant with the path, themselves being accepted. Taṃ sampayutto vedanakkhando, saññakkhando, saṅkhārakkhando, viññānakkkhando. The 4 aggregates associated therewith. Ime dhammā Maggahetukā. These are the states having the path as their root cause. Ariya Magga Samangissa Sammaditthi Maggocheva Hetucha. Right view of one who is conversant with the path is both the path and the root cause. Sammaditthim tapetva. The right view itself being accepted. Taṃ sampayutto vedanakkhando, saññakkhando, saṅkhārakkhando, viññānakkkhando. The 4 aggregates associated therewith. Ime dhammā Maggahetukā. These are the states having the path as their root cause. Ariya Magga Samangissa Alobho Adoso Amoho. Non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion, peculiar to one who is conversant with the path. Ime dhammā Maggahetu. These are path conditions. Taṃ sampayutto vedanakkhando, saññakkhando, saṅkhārakkhando, viññānakkkhando. The 4 aggregates associated therewith. Ime dhammā Maggahetukā. These are the states having the path as their root cause. Now let's look at them one by one. But first we will look at what Maggahetukā Dhamma means. So Maggahetukā Dhamma refers to states that are associated with Maggahetu. And in this Maggahetukā Dhamma, Maggahetu is defined in 3 different ways. So for that reason, we have 3 ways of deriving the analytical states for this particular term. Yes, let's look at the first formula. Now, in the first formula, what we get as Maggahetu is the 8-fold path. The 8 path factors becomes the Maggahetu, and the states that are associated with it becomes the Maggahetukā Dhamma. So here, by the first formula, the state of aggregates as accompanied by conditions is shown, the aggregates being associated with the path by means of condition in the sense of causal relationship. So it seems very complex, but to put everything in a very simplified manner, what it simply means is the 8-fold path is the condition or the path condition, and the dhammas that take the 8-fold path or the dhammas that are associated with them are called the Maggahetukā Dhamma. So now let's look at the first paragraph under the Nikkepakandam section, Katame Dhamma Maggahetukā, which are the states having the path as their root cause. Ariya Magga Samangissa Maggārammaṇa Tika. The path factors as experienced by one who is conversant with the path themselves being accepted or excluded. Tan sampayutto vedanakkhando peyala viññānakkhandho, the four aggregates associated therewith. So here we have taken the 8 path factors as the Maggahetu. And associated with these 8 path factors are the 4 Maggachitta and the remaining 28 Cetasika. And these Dhammas, the 4 Maggachitta and 28 Cetasika, are the states that are associated with these 8 path factors, and therefore, according to this first definition, these are the analytical states for Maggahetukā Dhamma. So now you might be thinking, how come these 8 path factors are not included under Maggahetukā Dhamma? It is because we take this as a group. We take the 8 path factors together and not individually. So when you take them together, they can't be associated with their own self. That is why they are excluded from the 36 Cetasika to result in a balance of 28 Cetasika. So we can't include them there because the 8 path factors or the 8-fold path can't be associated with its own self. And that is why it is excluded when it comes to the analytical states. Now let's look at the second formula. Now here there is a phrase in the Atthasālinī, Magga sampayuttava hetu, maggeva hetuti Maggahetu. So what are Maggahetu? The states that have roots associated with the path, or the states that have roots arising in the path. So therefore, this Maggahetu has 2 definitions according to the second formula. So let's look at the first. Magga sampayutta hetuti Maggahetu. Roots or hetu which are associated with the path, with the Magga, are called Maggahetu. So what are the roots that are associated with the path? Now, first we need to know what is the path. The path or the Magga has 8 path factors starting from Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Vacha, Kammanta, and so on. So we have 8 path factors. Among these 8 path factors, you know that Samma Ditti means amoha or non-delusion. So right view is not only a path factor, it is also a root. But here what we are talking about are the roots which are associated with the path. So we have the 8-fold path on one side, and now we need to look for the roots that are associated with these 8 path factors. So when it comes to this Maggachitta, the supramundane Maggachitta, it is a Trihetuka Chitta, meaning it has 3 hetu, alobha, adosa, and amoha. Now, amoha is already inside the path. So we are not going to take that as being associated because it is inside the 8-fold path. So what is associated with this 8-fold path would be 2 hetu, alobha, non-greed, and adosa, non-hatred. So, because amoha is sammaditthi and it's a component of this 8-fold path, we can't take it as being associated with the path. So, according to our first definition, Magga sampayutta hetuti Maggahetu, we get 2 hetu, alobha and adosa. Next, we come to the second definition. Magge hetuti Maggahetu. Having roots arising in the path. So there are hetu arising in the Magga. So what are the roots that arise in the path? We already mentioned it's amoha. non-delusion, which is Samma Ditti, right view, or Panya. So according to the second definition, we get Samma Ditti or Amoha as the Maggahetu. According to the first definition, we got Alobha and Adosa. So now we know what Maggahetu are according to the second formula. Now that we know about the Maggahetu, now let's look at the Maggahetukā Dhamma. So Maggahetukā Dhamma are the states which have Hetu, which are Maggahetu. So according to our first definition, we got Alobha and Adosa as Maggahetu. According to the second definition, we got Amoha as Maggahetu. Therefore, according to both these definitions, we will get the 4 Magga Chitta and 36 Cetasika as Maggahetukā Dhamma. Now you might be thinking, why we have not excluded Alobha, Adosa and Amoha from this, from the 36 Cetasika, unlike in the previous one where we excluded the 8 path factors. Now the reason is, when here we are taking the Hetu individually. So when it comes to Alobha, Alobha has 2 other Hetu that it can be associated with. So Alobha has Adosa as well as Amoha. If you take Adosa, it has Alobha and Amoha to be associated with. And if you take Amoha, it has 2 other Hetu, Alobha and Adosa. Because they act as Maggahetu to each other, they are not excluded from the 36 Cetasika. So, in summary, the Maggahetukā Dhamma, according to this definition, would be the states which have Hetu that are Maggahetu, which are Alobha, Adosa and Amoha. And what are these states? The 4 Magga Chitta and the 36 Cetasika. Now, in the Nikkepa Khandam, the corresponding paragraph is the last bit, the third section. So here we get Ariyamagga Samangissa Alobo Adoso Amoho, non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion, peculiar to one who is conversant with the path, Ime Dhamma Maggahetu. So these are the conditions. Tan Sampayutto Vedanakkhandho, Sanyakkhandho, Sankarakkhandho, Viññānakkhandho. The 4 aggregates associated therewith. Ime Dhamma Maggahetukā. These are the states having the path as their root cause. So here we got Alobha, Adosa and Amoha as the Maggahetu, and associated with them are the 4 Magga Chitta and the 36 Cetasika. So within these 36 Cetasika, we have Alobha and Adosa as well as Amoha. We have the 3 Hetu within the 36. We now come to the third formula. And here it is shown as the state that has right view as their condition. So now it's a little different. We take Samma Ditti, which is a Magga, a Magganga, as well as a Hetu. And taking right view, we are looking at the Dhammas that are associated with right view. So here we get in the Nikkepa Khandam, the corresponding section is the middle section, the second section. Ariyamagga Samangissa Samma Ditti Maggo Cheva Hetu Cha. So right view of one who is conversant with the path is both the path and the root cause. So Samma Ditti is Amoha. It is not only a Magganga, it is also a Hetu. So now under this final definition, we are talking about Sammaditthi being the Maggahetu, and those associated with it are the Maggahetukā. So here we have the 4 Magga Chitta and 35 Cetasika, excluding Sammaditthi, excluding Panya. Now here we have to exclude right view, because right view doesn't have another Hetu that it's associated with according to this definition. Because here we define the Hetu, the Maggahetu, as Sammaditthi. So Sammaditthi is isolated as the Maggahetu. Therefore, we have to deduct it from the 36 Cetasika, which is why we get 4 Magga Chitta and 35 Cetasika as the analytical states.
首先道歉，刚才的这个屏幕上面的这个翻译呢有错误，对不起哈，这个是错误的翻译所以我现在为大家它应该是翻译成这样就是真见这边讲的是这个真见呢，它本身既是道，它也是因，因为它是属于圣道，它也是属于3种因的之一。因此呢，道因指的就是这个具有既是道亦是因的这个法，就是具有正见之法。那这个是错误的，这个是另外之前的定义的法我们会改正了，然后再发出去之后发出去对不起，所以这边错误。所以真正的我们要理解这个定义呢是指的是真见，以真见呢为这个道因，因为真见本身呢是道也是因，因此呢是属于道因。那与这个真见道因相应的呢，就只有剩下呢35种心所，因为真见本身不可能跟自己相应，所以呢我们看到的这4种道心以及呢相应的35种心所，除了真见以外，是这边的能够得到的居道因之法，我们必须把真见也就是慧心所或者无痴心所呢，把它排除在外。
So according to these 3 definitions, Maggahetukā Dhamma has 3 different ways of deriving the analytical states. So first we said that the Atthangika Magga, the eightfold path, was taken as the Maggahetu, and then the Maggahetukā were the 4 Magga Chitta and 28 Cetasika, excluding the 8 path factors. Then we spoke about Magga Sampayuttava Hetu, Maggeva Hetu. Magga Sampayuttava Hetu means states that have roots associated with the path. And those were Alobha and Adosa, or states that have roots arising in the path, which is Amoha. So according to that definition, we got the 4 Magga Chitta and the 36 Cetasika. So here we didn't deduct the 3 Hetu, the 3 roots, because they act as Maggahetu to each other. Then finally we spoke about Sammaditthi. Sammaditthi is not only a Magganga, it is also a Hetu. And here we spoke about Sammaditthi being the Maggahetu, and therefore the Dhammas that are associated with Sammaditthi became the Maggahetukā. So we got the 4 Magga Chitta and 35 Cetasika, excluding Sammaditthi. With that, we conclude today's lesson. We will talk about Maggadhipatino Dhamma during our next lesson. So it's time to take questions. We have a question in the chat. Sukhi Hotu Doctor, in Maggārammaṇa Tika, we learned that Manodvara Vajjana takes Sotapatti Magga as object, and then the 7 Mahakusala Jnana Sampayutta arise 7 times, taking Sotapatti Magga as the object. Is it right or not? Yes, that is correct. So if it's a Sotapatti individual, he is able to take the Sotapatti Magga as his object. And first, in the Chitta Vidi, the first Chitta to take it as its object would be the Manodvara Vajjana. Then subsequently, you will get the javana arising 7 times, and it will be one of the 4 Mahakusala Jnana Sampayutta Chittas. When it comes to the Sakadagami, they can take either the Sotapatti or Sakadagami Magga as the object. And likewise, the Anagami can take Sotapatti, Sakadagami, and Anagami Magga as the object. And finally, the Arahatta individual can take Sotapatti, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arahatta Magga as the object. And the chitta that will arise for them would be the Kriya Chitta. So when they are recollecting, they will be getting one of the Mahakriya Chitta as the Javana, and not instead of the Kusala, because they have eliminated all defilements. Now, there's another question here. If this is right, may I ask when Manodvara Vajjana takes Nibbana as its object? Thank you, Doctor. So, now you will recall we spoke about Appamānārammana Dhammā. Appamānārammana means the states that take Appamāna Dhamma as their object. So Appamāna Dhamma are all the supramundane things. So supramundane meaning the 4 Maggachitta, the 4 Palachitta, the 36 Chetasika, and Nibbana. So here, Nibbana is spoken about under Appamānārammana Dhamma. So one of the instances where Manodvara Vajjana takes Nibbana as its object is during this process of recollection of Paccavekkhana. So when an individual, let's say for instance a Sotapatti individual, when he recollects Nibbana, then he will take the Manodvara Vajjana will take Nibbana as its object, and subsequently the Mahakusala Jnana Sampayutta Chitta will occur 7 times. So again, it is through this Paccavekkhana process that this Manodvara Vajjana will take Nibbana as its object. But here, under Maggārammaṇa Dhamma, we are not talking about Nibbana, because Nibbana does not fit the definition of Maggārammaṇa Dhamma, and that is why. And so Nibbana was spoken in Appamānārammana Dhamma, and that is the example that you have to correlate this with. I hope the answer is clear. Let me know if you need further clarification. Yes, Feni, you can ask your question.
Good evening, teacher. May I ask about this Paccavekkhana Vitti regarding with the first definition of the Maggārammaṇa Tika? This Paccavekkhana, is it only like having the object of its Maggacitta? So I mean, if the Sotapatti is the Sotapatti or Sotapanna will be only looking at the Sotapatti Magga, and the Sakadagami only looking for the Sakadagami. But here it's when you have a higher achievement, then you still can go with the Paccavekkhana for the lower Magga. So what is really happening in this Paccavekkhana for looking at the Maggacitta as the Dhammana? So
yeah, so here during the Paccavekkhana process, we said that the Magga, Phala, Nibbana, the eliminated defilements and remaining defilements, these things are recollected or reviewed. So when it comes to the Sotapatti individual, he has attained only one Magga. So he can recall only the Sotapatti Magga. Whereas when it comes to the next level, the Sakadagami, they are able to recollect both the Sotapatti as well as the Sakadagami Magga. Now, it doesn't mean that they will always be looking at the previous Magga. So it doesn't mean that every Sakadagami will be looking at both their Sotapatti as well as the Sakadagami Magga. They may or may not, but they have the possibility of taking the previous attainment, that is the Sotapatti Magga Chitta, as their Paccavekkhana object. The reason why this is brought out in this manner is to show the differences between the four individuals and the differences in what they can focus their attention on. So you can see right from the beginning, the Sotapatti has a very limited, they can see only the Sotapatti Magga of their own attainment as well as that of others through the Abhinya Kusala Chitta. But if you look at the Arahant, they are able to focus on the Sotapatti, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arahant, all four Magga Chitta of their own Magga Chitta, as well as that of others through the Cetopariya Abhinya Kriya Chitta. And it is really to show this difference in these individuals that this is brought out. But it doesn't necessarily mean that an individual who has become an Arahant will be necessarily reviewing his Sotapatti, his Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahat. Most often they will be reviewing only their Arahatta Magga Chitta. But it doesn't mean that they can't review their Sotapatti, Sakadagami, and Anagami. They can if they want to. But most often they'll be reviewing only the highest attainment that they have achieved. Was that answer clear?
Yes, teacher, very clear. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Irma has another question about Paccavekkhana Viti. May Doctor give the cognitive process of Paccavekkhana Viti? Thank you, Doctor. Right, so we don't really have, I haven't seen a Paccavekkhana Viti written out as such, but now if you kind of correlate it with the Parittarammana Viti, generally what occurs is first you get the Bhavanga, you get the Bhavanga Chalana, Upacheda, and then the Manodvara Vajana will be the first chitta that is going to take whatever object that is going to be the Paccavekkhana object, whether it's a Magga, Phala, Nibbana, the eliminated defilements or the remaining defilements. So the Maha Kusala Jnana Sampayutta, the Manodvara Vajana will take that particular object. So for this instance, for this example, we'll take the Sotapatti Magga Chitta. Next will arise the Javana. So the Javana will be, if it's a Sotapatti individual, a Mahakusala Jnana Sampayutta Chitta, one of the four. And it will occur 7 times. But this is the Arammana here is a Appamana Arammana. Therefore, at the end of the Javana process, it will not have any Tadarammana. The registration consciousness will not occur because this is not a Paritta Viti. This is the Viti would be an Appamana Rammana Viti. So therefore, the registration chitta will not occur. However, if the Arammana is a Paritta Dhamma, say for instance, the Arammana is the remaining kilesas. So remaining kilesas are Paritta Dhamma. So then the object is a Paritta Dhamma. So what you're going to get is a Manodvarika Chitta Viti focusing on a Paritta Dhamma. Therefore, at the end of the Javanas, you can have the Tadarammana or the 2 registration chittas. Now again, because now when it comes to this manodvarika chitta viti, there are two types. One is with a clear object, the other one vibhutaramana or avibhuta, which is unclear. So here during the paccavekkhana process, the object is very clear because the mind is extremely well focused. So if the object is a paritta dhamma, it is likely that the registration chitta or the tadarammana will occur at the end of the javana process. So that is how I can describe the paccavekkhana viti. I haven't really seen a paccavekkhana viti written out, but from what we have learned, we can kind of put it all together and work out how it probably occurs. Yes, we have another question in Chinese.
Yes, doctor. The question is a question in Chinese. Pandami teacher. When we talk about hetu here, hetu means the factor that is associated with the magga. Is this the meaning? Alobha, adosa. Sorry. Alobha, adosa. Alobha, adosa. Through the hetu pachaya, it is associated. Oh, sorry. Maybe I let me say again. The first part of the question is that when we talk about hetu here, hetu, does it mean that there's a factor that is in association with magga? This is the first part of the question. The second part, the alobha and adosa, are they associated with the samadhi path factor through hetu pachaya? Is it correct to understand in this way? So there are two parts of the question.
Okay, can I have the first part again?
The first part is when we talk about hetu here in this tika, does it refer to the factor that is in association with magga?
Okay, so yes, so when we were talking about Maggahetukā Dhamma, let me just go back to that slide here. We are talking about Maggahetu in three different ways. So now you know that Hetu means roots and Hetu Pachya means root condition. Now according to this, Hetu here refers to it in three different ways. The first way is we are taking the eightfold path as the Hetu, as basically something like the root condition. And taking the eightfold path, we are looking at the dhammas that are associated with the eightfold path. So the eightfold path becomes the Maggahetu, and the remaining dhammas that are associated with it, the 4 Maggachitta and 28 Cetasika, they become the Maggahetukā Dhamma. Then in the next two terms, we are talking in the same sense of Hetu as roots. So in the second one, we said, Magga sampayutta va hetu, magge va hetu. That means the states that have roots, mula or hetu, associated with the eightfold path. Those are alobha and adosa. And next we said magge va hetu, the states that have roots arising within the path, that is samma ditti. So here we spoke about two different types of roots, those that are associated with the eightfold path and those that are within the eightfold path, which is samma ditti. So the dhammas that are associated with these hetu were called Maggahetukā. And here we got the 4 Maggachitta and all of the 36 Cetasika, because the individual alobha, adosa, and amoha, they act as roots or hetu to each other. They act as Maggahetu to each other. So we take all of them together. Then next we said the states that have both a hetu as well as a magga. That is sammaditthi. Sammaditthi is both a hetu as well as a magga. So states that have a certain condition that becomes both a root as well as a magga is called Maggahetukā here. So here we took sammaditthi as the Maggahetu, and the 4 Maggachitta and the 35 Cetasika, excluding sammaditthi, were taken as the Maggahetukā Dhamma. So that is the answer to your first question. So here we are talking about hetu. The Maggahetu are defined in 3 different ways. In the first definition, it's all 8 path factors that become the Maggahetu. But in the next 2 definitions, we are talking about the roots, the hetu themselves, alobha, adosa, amoha. But the first definition is not only, we are not talking about alobha, adosa, amoha, but we are talking about the 8-fold path as becoming the Maggahetu. To answer your second question, whether these 3 hetu that are arising with the Maggachitta. So with the Maggachitta, we have 36 Cetasika, and among them we have the 3 hetu, alobha, adosa, and amoha. So yes, those 3 are roots, and they correlate, or they associate each other according to the hetu paccaya, or the root condition. So one root acts as a condition for the remaining dhammas, which are the conditioned dhamma. And the roots act as conditions for each other as well. So we have a anyamanya, or a kind of like a, I forget the term, a sort of relationship between each other. So the root condition applies here as well. So the alobha, adosa, amoha are the 3 roots, and the conditioned dhammas are the 4 Maggachitta and the 36 Cetasika.
And Doctor, just to clarify one part, at the beginning of your answer, Doctor, you mentioned about the Eightfold Noble Paths supports by way of hetu paccaya, is it, or should it be?
No, it is not by way of hetu paccaya, but here we are sort of considering it as the condition, like a special sort of condition, not hetu paccaya. Hetu paccaya is always in association with regards to the 6 hetus, lobha, dosa, moha, alobha, adosa, amoha. But here it's sort of like now, because in the Mula Tika, they say to consider those dhammas that are associated with the Eightfold Path as sahetuka. So when you're saying sahetuka, those that are associated with the hetu. So here the hetu is taken as the Eightfold Path, but we are not, it is not the hetu paccaya here. It is in a different sense.
Okay.
Okay. I hope that answer was clear. We have another question. Irma is asking, in Maggārammaṇa Tika, the thought process runs Bhavanga Charana, Bhavanga Upachara, Manodvara Vajjana, Parikamma, Upachara, Anuloma, Gotrabu, Magga, Phala, and Bhavanga. In this thought process, Manodvara Vajjana takes what object? Right. So this is the absorption javana process of an individual who is about to become, about to attain a supramundane magga and a path. So how this process starts is they need to first go through a process or a meditation called vipassana. So during vipassana, they will be focusing on anicca, dukkha, anatta of whatever object that they are focusing on. So in this process, the manodvarajana, parikamma, upachara and anuloma, those three chitta are not going to be taking nibbana as its object. So it's usually the whatever the vipassana that they are doing, whether it's anicca, dukkha or anatta, one of those three lakshana which will be the object of those chitta. And the very first chitta to see nibbana or to take nibbana as its object would be the gotrabhu chitta. And that is why they say we spoke about this before in Dassana Tika. It's like an individual goes to see the king and he sees the king from far away riding on top of his elephant, but he doesn't really go and talk to him. So the gotrabhu chitta is like that. It sees nibbana from afar, but it really hasn't experienced nibbana yet. But the very next chitta is magga. The magga chitta is the first chitta to experience nibbana. So looking at this process, manodvara vajjana is not taking nibbana as its object. So when does manodvara vajjana take nibbana as its object? It's in the subsequent, it's in the next chitta viti. So once this individual becomes a sotapatti individual, now he has already attained the magga, he has already attained the phala, then that chitta viti goes into bhavanga. Then later he starts recollecting or he starts the process of paccavekkhana. When he is doing this paccavekkhana and he decides to review or recollect on nibbana, that is when manodvara vajjana will take nibbana as its object, but not during the chitta viti that you have mentioned here. Because gotrabhu chitta will be the first chitta in that chitta viti that will be experienced or that will be taking nibbana as its object. I'm sorry, I missed a part of the previous question. May I think that paccavekkhana viti, the thought process, bhavanga chalana, bhavanga upacheda, manodvara vajjana, javana, the 7 mahakusala jnana sampayutta, then paccavekkhana arise. Is it right or not? Sorry, I'm still not clear. Yeah, so it seems correct the way you have written the padis. So this is like a paccavekkhana viti. So you get the bhavanga chalana, bhavanga upacheda, and the manodvara vajjana will take as its object whatever that individual is going to recollect on, whatever he is going to do the paccavekkhana on. It may be magga, phala, nibbana, avasesa, the remaining defilements, or the eliminated defilements, one of the 5. And the manodvara vajjana will take that object, and subsequently the one of the 4 mahakusala jnana sampayutta chitta will arise 7 times. So yes, that would be how a paccavekkhana chitta viti goes. So this will happen after the person attains that certain absorption jhana. So after the magga and phala, after they become enlightened, then they will go through this process of paccavekkhana. Now, the other thing I forgot to mention before is, you had asked whether the manodvara vajjana takes nibbana as its object in this absorption chitta viti. So another way of understanding it, just think of a individual who becomes a Sotapatti individual. Now he is at the moment a Putujjana. He is still not yet Sotapanna. So if he has not become enlightened, that means his Manodvara Vajjana will not know what Nibbana is like. You have to know your Arammana if you want to take it as a sense object. You have to know what it is like. So if it's a Putujjana person can never take Nibbana as a sense object because he doesn't know what it is like. And that is why it is only at the point of Gotrabhu Chitta that Nibbana becomes that individual's Arammana to the Gotrabhu Chitta. So that is another way of thinking about it. And the whole intention of this cognitive process is to reach enlightenment. So a Sotapatti individual, the aim is to attain the Sotapatti Magga. For a Sakadagami individual, it will be, the intention is to attain the Sakadagami Magga and subsequently the Phala. So the process will be focused on that. So the initial Chitta would be taking as its object one of the three Trilakshana, the three Anicca, Dukkha or Anatta, depending on what form of meditation he is engaged in. So it all depends on the objective or the purpose of that Chitta Vidi as well. Right. We have another question. Magga Sampayutta Hetuva at the blue one, the 36 Chetasika is 38 Chetasika excluding 2 Appamanya. Is it right or not? And again, she has added for the blue one, it's very difficult to understand. Right. So, yes, your answer is correct. When we are talking about the Magga Chitta and their associated mental factors, we consider only 36. We don't take the Appamanya, because Appamanya, when it comes to the Magga Chitta always takes Nibbana as its object. Magga Chitta will never take anything else as its object. It's always Nibbana. So when a certain Chitta is taking Nibbana as its object, there is no way that you can get Appamanya. Appamanya, the object for Appamanya are Panyati. So for example, if you are thinking of the endless beings in the world and you are spreading karuna or mudita towards them, then that is where Appamanya will take place, or where Appamanya will arise. But when it comes to the Magga Chitta, their object is always Nibbana. And for that reason, you will not get the Appamanya arising together with the Magga Chitta. So here we are taking the Magga Chitta and 36 Chetasika. Now, you have mentioned that the blue one is a little difficult. So let's quickly go back and see if we can make it easier for you to understand. So now here we were talking about Maggahetukā being the states that have Maggahetu. And Maggahetu we defined in 2 ways. One is Magga Sampayutta Hetu. That means the roots which are associated with Magga. Now, what is the Magga? Magga are the Attangika Magga, the 8 path factors. So we get Samma, Ditti, Samma, Sankappa, Vacha, Kammanta, Ajiva, Sati, Vayama, Samadhi. We get those 8 path factors. You keep them on one side. Then you think, what are the roots that are associated with those 8? Then we get Alobha and Adosa. Can we take Amoha? No, we can't take Amoha because it's inside the Attangika Magga. Because we are asking, the question that we are asking is, what are the roots associated with the Arya Attangika Magga? So then we get only two roots, Alobha and Adosa. And that is what we get for the first definition of Maggahetu, Magga Sampayutta Maggahetu. So we get Alobha and Adosa under that definition. Next they are saying, Maggahetuti Maggahetu. Having roots arising in the path. So now we are asking the question, what are the roots or hetu that arise in the Magga? So here we get Sammaditthi. Only Sammaditthi is arising in the eightfold path. Others are not in the eightfold path. So now we have Maggahetu as Sammaditthi. So we have from the first definition, we got Alobha and Adosa. Those are the hetu associated with the path. And from the second definition, we got Sammaditthi. That is the hetu arising within the path. Now, from this, we have to find out what is Maggahetukā. So Maggahetukā means the states that are having Maggahetu. So according to the first definition, the Maggahetu are Alobha and Adosa. According to the second definition, Maggahetu are Amoha. So if we are looking at this separately, what are the Chitta Chetasika associated with Alobha and Adosa? Then we will get the four Magga Chitta and 36 Chetasika. We get all 36 Chetasika because these Alobha and Adosa, they act as Maggahetu for each other. Then if you take, according to the second definition, if you take Sammaditthi as the Maggahetu, then associated with it, you get the four Magga Chitta and 35 Chetasika. Because we are having only one Maggahetu here, only Amoha. So then we can't take Amoha as being associated with itself. So then we get Magga Chitta and 35 Chetasika. But the definition here, we are taking both these. For the second formula, we are taking both of these. So then we take the maximum number, which is 36 Chetasika. So we take the Magga Chitta and 36 Chetasika as the Maggahetukā Dhamma. Is that clear? Dr. JJ, I think there are two questions in Chinese.
This is by the same questioner who asked a question earlier. So it's just a reply to say, thank you, teacher, very clear. Yes. So just to acknowledge and to thank teacher for the answer.
Right. And there's another one below that.
It's by the same person to say thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. So have I answered all the questions? Okay. Yeah. So this might be a little confusing, but it's not a difficult Matika to understand. It's just that you need to look at the term in different ways. Now, if you take Maggahetukā Dhamma, it has three different definitions. But it is not difficult. Just go through this again, read up on it again. And if you still have any doubts, feel free to ask the questions. You can email them to me in the on this email address, and I'll try my best to answer them as soon as I can. So our next lesson will be on the 11th of May. We initially planned to have it on the 4th, but due to unavoidable reasons, we'll have to reschedule it to the 11th of May. It's now time to share merits. I would like all of you to join me.
现在我们来分享功德，请大家呢跟着老师呢一起做这个功德的分享。
Ākāsattā ca Bhummattā Devā Nāgā Mahīddhikā Puñyantaṃ Anumoditva Chiran Rakkantu Sāsanaṃ Chiran Rakkantu Desanaṃ Chiran Rakkantu Mam Paraṃ Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Idam me punyang asavakya vahang hotu. Idam me punyang nibbana asapacchayo hotu. Mama punya bhagam sabba sattanam vajemi. Te sabbe me samang punya magang rabantu. Buddha Sāsanaṃ Chiran Tiktatu, Buddha Sāsanaṃ Chiran Tiktatu, Buddha Sāsanaṃ Chiran Tiktatu, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Very much, Doctor. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thanks.
Very much, Doctor. Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank everyone.